guys, my name is Sanaya
My name is Agastya.
and today I will tell you guys a story from Mostly Ghostly Stories written by Subhadra Sen Gupta.
Ghost stories. Scary.
Don't worry, this story is about a friendly ghost.
Yay! What's the name of the story?
The story's name is Ajji's Abacus. Now the story will begin, so make sure you keep your ears on the story so you don't miss a thing.
Okay.
You are getting it all wrong again, Durga. I am not Ajji. The air around my head felt like a dozen birds were angrily flapping their wings, and then the pesky bees began buzzing softly in my ears. Ajji was becoming agitated, and soon I was going to get a headache. You can't overcharge the customers. It is bad for business. I've told you so many times. Ajji was hissing in my ears. It will be 1 silver tara and 6 copper jittal coins. Can't you even add a simple bill?
Jittal, tala. Are those olden times currency?
Let's continue. Yes, I know that. Didn't you see Keshav serve 8 dosas, 6 helpings of bisi bele bhat, and then 6 coconut payasams? How much does that add up to? I know, 1 tara and 6 jittas. But Ajji, they have just now asked for 6 pans, so I added 2 jittals. Oh. There was a small silence as Ajji's soft, deflated exclamation fluttered around my head. My grandmother hated being proved wrong. I turned slightly and spoke to the empty air behind me, knowing she was listening. You know, Ajji, I never make mistakes adding up a bill. I couldn't help smiling. It always felt good being one up on her. I am your granddaughter, remember? Don't forget to give them the correct change, she said briskly. My bossy grandma was never going to admit that she made a mistake. I will right away. The fluttering and the buzzing suddenly died down, and with relief, I knew she was gone. My younger brother Keshav, who was serving the customers, came back with the payment, took a look at my glum face and grinned. Finding mistakes, was she? Busy counting the coins, I just nodded. You should hear her when I'm making the bill. He wiped his sweaty face with a cloth. It's like 100 angry bees buzzing in my ears. I don't blame her. You and Appa are terrible at even the simplest additions and subtractions. And aren't you clever? He grabbed the change and went off looking hopeful. The customers were a bunch of rich noblemen from Tanjavur, and my optimistic brother was hoping for a tip. My best friend Pampa says we are the strangest family in Vijayanagar. The men do the cooking and serving, and the women count the money. Ajji and Amma are champions at numbers. I'm pretty good at it too, while Appa and Keshav are truly talented cooks. So we are sort of an upside-down family because Appa and Keshav begin to sweat if they have to calculate the expenses of a small shopping list, while Amma and I are pretty good at burning a whole pot of sambar. If we are strange, you have to blame Ajji for that. Actually, in our family, everything begins with Ajji. At one time, my grandmother, Sundari Ammal, was an important member of the staff at the palace of Krishna Dev Raya, the king of Vijayanagar.
Krishna Dev Raya. Is he the famous king from Karnataka?
Yes, that's him. But this story is fictional.
Okay.
When she entered the palace, the guards at the gate bowed to her and greeted her respectfully, saying, Namaskar, Sundari Ammal, and she would sweep by with a regal nod. She was one of the most trusted officers in the Zenana, the complex of palaces of the queens of Vijayanagar. Ajji was the chief accountant who managed all the expenses, and in 30 years that she had served the royal family, no one ever found a mistake in her calculations. I remember going with Amma to visit her in the Zenana. She sat in a small room, cross-legged on a mattress on the floor, with a bolster at her back. Before her was a low table, and she was surrounded by bundles of palm leaf. She was clacking away her abacus. Then, dipping her quill pen into a pot of ink and writing down the endless rows of numbers, I peered over her shoulder to see what she was writing and read a long list. Purchase oil for lamps. Cost of repairing wall in kitchen. Allowance to Queen Padmalaya. Loan to head gardener. And against each expense, the row of numbers, all of them neatly added at the bottom, the way I love to do. As Ajji began to grow old, her eyes became weak and her hands began to shake, and that was when Amma began to help her. But when it came to the calculations, click, clack, Ajji always used the abacus and she had the correct answer every time. She bought the abacus from a merchant from a far-off land. He had come with a trunk full of lengths of shimmering silks. As the women in the Zenana crowded around him buying the silks, Ajji had watched him calculate the price on his abacus, quickly shifting the row of beads in the wooden frame. The merchant raised his slanted eyes and asked Ajji, And you, madam, don't you want the silks of China? No, Ajji pointed to the abacus. I want that machine. The man laughed. It is not for sale. Everything is for sale, said Ajji firmly. Name your price. Amused at a woman wanting an abacus, the man had bargained and then sold it to Ajji. Then he had taught her how to use it and watched in amazement as within a few minutes she was calculating faster than him. You are very good with numbers, madam, the man said admiringly. You should run your own business. I run this palace, she snapped at him and stalked away to her office carrying her prize. From then, the abacus never left her side. Everyone working in the Zenana said that after Ajji got the abacus, she became a complete terror. She found mistakes in everyone's bills and began adding interest to the loans. And if they protested, she would say that her abacus was never wrong. Then she did the same at Appa's food shop. She declared that Appa spent too much on kitchen supplies, overpaid the servants, and calculated everything wrong. After a session with Ajji and her abacus, Appa would walk away red-faced and muttering under his breath that one day he would drop that devil's machine in the kitchen fire. When Ajji retired from her job as the chief accountant of the Zenana, she was summoned to the palace of His Majesty, King Krishna Dev Raya. As she bowed and touched his feet, he raised her up with a smile and said, Ah, Sundari Amma, what will I do without you? Who will manage the Zenana now? I am getting old, Your Majesty. The eyes ache and my hands shake. It is time for a younger woman to take over the job. Oh, I know who that will be. The next manager of the Zenana has already been selected. And the two exchanged a smile because Ajji knew very well who was going to take over from her. She had trained her successor well. That is how Parvati Ammal, my Amma and Ajji's daughter, took over the running of the Zenana, and Ajji retired so that she could run Appa's life instead. Appa had a food shop in Hampi Bazaar, the broad avenue that ran from the high Gopuram gateway of the Virupaksha temple to the Matanga hill, with shops on both sides. It was the busiest bazaar in Vijayanagar. Pilgrims came from far to do puja at this ancient shrine of Lord Shiva, and many would come to eat our food shop. Appa thought his business was doing very well, but Ajji had different ideas. Ajji always planned her life carefully. Over the years, she had saved money, and with it, she now bought the best spot in Hampi Bazaar and opened an inn and food shop right in front of the main gate of the Virupaksha temple.
Is this the famous temple from Karnataka?
Yes! Virupaksha temple is located in Hampi in the Vijayanagar district of Karnataka, India. It is part of the group of monuments at Hampi designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The temple is dedicated to Sri Virupaksha, a form of Shiva.
I would love to visit this temple.
Me too! Soon, the inn was the most popular in the city. Its rooms always full and its food shop packed with hungry pilgrims. As my brother Keshav and I grew up, we began to help Appa carrying in the brass plates of food, shopping for vegetables, cleaning and dusting the rooms in the inn. Life was good. We lived on the top of the inn, and every morning Amma headed off to the palace and came back in the late afternoon. Appa would be up at dawn and whirling around the kitchen, yelling at the cooks and waiters. Keshav and I served at the food shop and cleaned the rooms in the inn. Ajji made the bills, her fingers flying over the abacus and then dropping the coins into the money box with a happy clatter. When I was 16 and Keshav 2 years younger, our simple world fell apart. Suddenly, Sundari Ammal, my Ajji, died, but she did not go away. A few days after Ajji's funeral, I was loitering on the top floor when I heard Amma and Appa talking on the terrace below. Without her, Appa was saying, "What will I do? I can't run the inn and the food shop alone. And as your mother said so often, I'm a good cook, but I have no head for business." He gave a sad little laugh. I fought with her all the time, and now I miss her. There was a small silence, and then Amma said, "If you want me to, I can stop working at the palace." "Oh no!" Appa exclaimed. "His Majesty chose you for the job, and Queen Tirumal Devi trusts you. We cannot risk the royal family becoming angry with us. Also, you are paid so well." "And," Amma said softly, "I love the work, just like my mother did. It gives me joy." I stood there scratching my nose and thinking hard. I thought of how I loved our inn. Right across the road, I could see the stone and the stucco Gopuram gateway and the row of shacks selling flowers, coconuts, bananas, incense, brass utensils for the pilgrims coming to perform puja. People were walking down the steps of the temple tank to take a purifying dip before heading to the sanctum with their platters of offerings for the gods and goddesses. I could hear Chinnappa, the blind beggar, calling out to the pilgrims from a spot by the main courtyard. I remembered I had to take him some food. This was my world, I thought absently. Ajji had built it for us and we had to hold on to it. Appa could not do it alone. In our family, all the discussions happen over dinner when the day's work is done, the food shop is closed, and the guests of the inn tucked into their rooms. Then we can relax. Keshav and I lay out the cloth seats on the floor of the empty kitchen and place the metal plates as Appa and Amma carry the leftover food. The kosambari salad, the vegetables, the vadas, and sometimes, if we are lucky, some sweets too, kesari bhat or payasam. As we start to eat, Amma always asks two questions. How is the business at the food shop? Then, any new guests at the inn? One day, a few months after Ajji died, we were at dinner and Amma again wanted to know if we had any new guests. 2 guests, Keshav said. They have come with saris from Kanchipuram. I took a deep breath and spoke. I did the bills today. Amma looked up. The food shop was so full and Appa was so busy. Amma frowned, looking uncannily like Ajji. All the bills? Munching a vada, I gave a full report of my activities that day. I sat with the vegetable seller and calculated and cleared his bills. Ajji always bargained with him, and he was so happy I did not that he gave me a pumpkin for free. Appa laughed, Keshav was grinning, but Amma still frowned. 2 guests left and I did their bills. Then, Akka sat in the food shop and collected all the money from the customers. Keshav sprang to my aid. No mistakes, no one complained, and that's because I used the abacus. By now, even Amma was smiling. She taught you how to use it, didn't she? So from then on, I became the business manager of the inn. In the beginning, Amma would check my calculations every night, but after a few months, she began to trust me, and that is because she couldn't spot a single mistake. Best of all, I became very popular with all the people who supplied goods to the inn. The grocer, the vegetable and fruit sellers, the man who made ghee, and even the bad-tempered washerman. This was because, unlike Ajji, I did not bargain, say rude things about their goods, or snap their heads off if they argued. Then, when I found the money to buy expensive spices and new frying pans for the kitchen, Appa said that I was a better manager than Ajji, and that made Amma laugh. What I did not know was that Ajji did not approve of my business style. Every evening before dinner, I would sit and make a final list of all the earnings and expenses of the day to show Amma and Appa. One evening, I sat by the light of 2 earthen lamps, scratching away with my quill pen in my red cloth-covered register and rattling the beads of the abacus. It was a hot summer night when I suddenly felt a cool breeze around my head. I looked around to see who was fanning me. There was no one around. Then she whispered in my ear, and her voice seemed to be coming from far, far away. Very little profit today.
Is that the friendly ghost you were talking about?
You will find out. I sat frozen in panic. Just 2 silver taras and 6 chittals. That is not good. The voice was getting stronger. Ajji, is that you? I whispered nervously, my heart thudding. Are you alive? Don't be silly, girl. I died, remember? She snapped at me as I sat very still, thinking if I moved too much, she would somehow vanish like a dream. But I did not go away. I have been here all the time. Really? I was not amused. You died 2 months ago. How come you did not speak to me before? Not even once. Because you were doing a good job. Oh, was I? I glared in the direction of a window from where I sensed her voice was coming. Then what's gone wrong today? 3 guests paid their bills, the food shop was full, and just 2 taras and 6 jittals in profit? What kind of business is that? There were expenses, I said a little bit defensively. Of course, you paid off the full bill of that stupid washerman Chandramouli. Ajji was always fighting with the poor man. Ajji, his daughter is getting married and I asked Appa first. She made her typical clicking noise of disapproval, and now I was absolutely sure I was speaking to my grandma. Your Appa will give away my inn to a beggar one day because the beggar sang so well. You never clear all their dues, you stupid girl. Never keep them waiting. I won't. I was feeling pretty stubborn too. Why should I when I have the money and they are all so poor? I shouldn't have taught you the abacus. The breeze died down and Ajji was gone. I realized that if things went smoothly at the inn, Ajji was quiet. Then, one day when Keshav did the billing because I was ill, he made a pile of mistakes and Ajji arrived to yell into his ears. There was a full orchestra of buzzing bees accompanying her yelling. We never told our mind about it, because who would believe us? You hear of ghosts haunting old buildings, living in trees, wandering around temples. Whoever heard of a ghost who haunted the office of an inn? Ajji never visited the kitchen, or Appa would have definitely heard her sarcastic comments. She did not check the rooms in the inn, or the servants would have heard her complaining about the dusting and mopping. She just watched and haunted me as I sat at her place on the divan, using her pens, ink, and paper and calculating on her abacus. One day, when she had been particularly troublesome, muttering about how Appa should raise the rent, while I was buying expensive vegetables that were out of season, did Keshav have to fill the bowls of food to the brim? I had to finally protest. Ajji, do you live in this room just to give me a headache? Of course not. I only come when you call me. Call you? I never call you. How can I call you when I can't even see you? I hear the abacus and I know you're there, and then I come back. Suddenly there was a lump in my throat and my eyes were wet with tears. Oh, I miss you so much, Ajji. I know, my Durga, I know. That is why I stay. And this is where we'll stop for part 1.
So there's lots more in the story?
In the next part, they will solve the mystery of a missing royal necklace.
With the help of Ajji's ghost.
Sounds interesting, right?
Yeah!
If you want to see how it happens,
We will see you in our next video.
bye!